On today's episode, I'm joined by Chris Haig, our cybersecurity expert here at Mercury IT. Chris has joined us once again to explain all about SMB 1001 certification, why businesses should have it, how cost effective it is, and how simple it is to put it in place. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Tech Insights. Joining us again as our regular is Chris Haig, our Chief Information Security Officer. Welcome once again, Chris.
Thank you.
Now, we do love having you on the podcast because you do always bring some relevant information along with you, so that's always appreciated.
I definitely try.
So today we're going to be talking about SMB 1001 certification, which is basically aimed at small to medium-sized businesses.
That's right. So it's a newish certification that's come along. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have a chat about it today and just let our viewers know that it's available, what it does, if they think it's worth it, etc. Just have a little chat.
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate you coming along because I certainly can't tell them much about it. So let's jump right in. And can you explain what is SMB 1001 and why was it developed?
Yeah, sure. So CyberCert and the DSI, which is the Dynamic Standards International, kind of came together to build out a certification specifically for SMBs. So it's Australian driven originally, although it's going global now as well, which is great. And the idea was looking at the number of businesses in Australia. If you look at the number of businesses, it's something close to 90% of businesses actually fall into a small, medium business bracket, not enterprise. And most of our security tools, certifications, process, all that kind of stuff is mostly geared around enterprise and government and so forth. And they filter down, obviously, but they take time to do that. And there was that gap that was missing where the small, medium business is a certification like the ISO 27001, which is a international securities kind of certification, is very complex for an SMB to get. It's not impossible, but it's hard. It takes a lot of work to get there and a lot of resources, not just money, but in staff time and so forth. So the idea was, okay, can we develop something that actually suits a small, medium business? Because there will be certification pieces that are required in an ISO certification that an SMB won't necessarily need. It's just not applicable at all. So there could be a lot of extra costs there for no reason. So the idea was, can something be created that's easy for a small, medium business to implement and run with?
I mean, it seems like a great idea. So why would it matter for a small to medium business to get a certification like this?
Look, that's a great question, because the idea around getting a certification, you go, okay, well, what does it actually mean for a small business? There's so many priorities that a business owner is going to be looking at, and cybersecurity doesn't really matter how many news articles you read about, cybersecurity is the number one thing that businesses think about. It's not. It just isn't. If you look at a risk kind of factor type situation, I think it comes in at number 3 in a lot of these sort of checks with business. But again, it's aimed at larger business and so forth, and maybe they're asking the risk committee and not really the owner of the business or the stakeholders. But you can imagine a small, medium business, it's like, I don't know, they've got 12 people, they're accountants and so forth. And, top line is like, revenue is what I'll be thinking about. Losing revenue. Yeah. How do I get more customers? And, worried about my competition. There's just so many things to be worried about. So cybersecurity is way, way down on the list. So often it's just about focus. And often cybersecurity is just complex. So, or it seems complex, so they don't know where to start.
We've spoken about that before, haven't we? About
absolutely.
how it can be very overwhelming for, smaller businesses especially to take that journey.
Absolutely. But I think what we've got to be aware of, though, is Australia, along with other countries, are noticing cybersecurity incidents are getting worse and worse. It's a constant thing. It's a business all in its own of how much money it makes. So it's not going anywhere. And our government, the Australian government's got their cyber strategy, the 2030 strategy going forward with its shields. And the idea, though, is that's becoming part of the public thought. Mm-hmm. And if it's becoming more public, then your customers, as a small, medium business owner, are going to start thinking about it. So you can kind of see it start to happen now, where people are going like, hold on a second, what is my data safe? Like, I go to these small accountants as an example, and they ask for a lot of information, and then you start to think, are they keeping the information secure? Have they asked me to just email it to them? Or, there's those questions start to come up. So I think for SMBs now looking at a certification, this is a good piece to show the customer that they are actually thinking about it. So it's getting to that point of proving that you are more secure than the next person. So kind of will put you ahead of the competition as well.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to look at it, because I think people are becoming more aware of, what's happening with their data and that sort of thing. So,
like I said, it's so far down on the list of priorities. You want to make it easy.
Oh, absolutely. So how do businesses go about getting the SMB 1001 certification? Is there a certain process?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you can go to the CyberCert website or Google SMB 1001, but CyberCert's website is where you can go and purchase your certification directly off the website. You don't just get the certification, obviously. The idea here is there's different levels to get, but there's a questionnaire on the website to determine what level you should be looking at. But if you're not sure, you just start at the bottom and kind of work your way up is the easier way to do it. And that website's actually going to give you like a dashboard, and it's going to give you easy step-by-step processes. It's going to give you worksheets. It's going to give you those processes to use, all kind of available for you to go through, and you self-assess. Is what happens. For every level, though, you do need to engage with an MSP to help you work through that. So, in our case, I'd say to people, look, go on there, find the cert that you want to do, or speak to us first, and then you go and select Mercury IT as your partner, and then that's generally the first step, is speak to your MSP, and then we can actually walk through that. The process itself, once you've got there, depends on the level that you go through, and there's basically a bronze, silver, gold.
I was going to ask you about the different levels.
Are all self-attested. So it's a case of you assess yourself along with your MSP, gather the evidence that you need, etc., all in one place, and it creates a letter that a director of the business needs to sign. So it is signed up at an executive level, which is really, really important. And then your final two sides as well, where you've got your platinum and diamond levels, are actually externally audited. So it's really about what you're after as a business, whether you need kind of basic security, enhanced security, advanced security, or that kind of checking your entire supply chain and so forth. So there's different aspects to it, obviously different costs, different numbers of things that you need to meet. But it is set up in such a way that you can start on bronze, right? Get that, and then move to the next one and get that. It's almost like, what did I hear it described as? Like, your karate belts. your color belts. And it's like, okay, I've achieved all of this, so now I can be graded from my green belt to a brown belt, that kind of scenario.
Well, I mean, that's good.
Well, it builds on each other, which is great. So you can just start at the bronze, and it's like $95.
I was going to ask you what the cost is.
So it's relatively cheap. It is an annual cost, and that's really important as well, because it's a dynamic standard. It gets updated every year. So it moves with those cybersecurity changes in the industry. So website, sign up, have a chat with your MSP. They'll work through it. You sign the letter from a director, and then you can actually use the badge on your website, on your email signatures, and so forth to actually demonstrate.
Oh, that's great
to your clients and potential clients that is something that you care about.
Yeah.
Even though it's way down on your priority list, it's a case of getting that done.
But I guess the fact that they can start at a bronze and it comes at such a reasonable price, $95, it's a step, isn't it? It's just that first step to...
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think by the sounds of it, the interface and everything is pretty user-friendly. So
very, very user-friendly with very clear instructions. And the great thing is, you as the business owner, along with your chosen service provider, both have the same instructions to work through. And I quite like this because it keeps everyone honest. And what I mean by that is your MSP is not going to try and sell you something that's not on the list.
Oh, yes, okay.
So it's not, you're not going to be oversold a security solution when that's not what's being asked for. And that's what's great about the SMB 1001. It is the basics to start with. Your bronze is only 6 kind of steps that you have to work through. Stuff like the first one is working with your MSP. So that's easy enough, right? The second one is like making sure you've got a business grade firewall in place, so you don't have a home device running for your business. Things like that. Having endpoint security antivirus on your devices. And then that's for bronze. And then moving to silver, that moves out to then 14 standards that you would need. So 14 bits that you would need in place. And the good thing about just even going from bronze to silver, if you certify on silver, you actually automatically pre-qualify for cybersecurity insurance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's a really, really cool step as well. So there's specific insurance providers that are kind of part of that standard as well. So they partner with CyberCert to be able to offer that. Obviously, it's still underwritten. It's still got to be checked that you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
But this is a huge step. I did hear of a case whereby a company got I think they went with their gold certification. But getting the gold certification, they managed to not increase the price of their cyber insurance, but they've got double or more coverage.
Wow.
So that was really useful. So the director was like, well, that paid for itself. So.
Well, that's definitely a good example there.
Yeah.
And do you think bringing this certification in and making it so easy, it's obviously going to push a lot more people along to take cybersecurity seriously and look at putting it in place for their business? So is that what's sort of behind the initiative, do you think?
Absolutely. We when I say we in the industry of cybersecurity know that a lot of this is not, I keep saying it's like not taken seriously, or it doesn't feel like it's taken seriously, right? And it's not about the seriousness of it. It's, again, priorities. Right. So if as a company director, I'm trying to run my business, I've got so many things I'm concerned about, whether it's, paying salaries and then the BAS and this and accounts, and there's too many things to think about. So the idea is to make this as simple as possible. So it is important. Like as a director, I'd be like, I understand it's important, but where do I put it in the time, right? And then also resources. So there's a couple of challenges around this, right? Priority is a challenge, and where SMB comes in is, okay, it's made really simple. Dashboard, steps, tick, 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 click print, prints off the letter, signers. So it's a very simple process that we can go through to get there. And each one just builds on that next level. So, okay, you've already got this in place, right? We move to the next bits that we need to get in place. So resources is another one, right? So money, it's not terribly expensive. That's important. So, we're paying $95 for bronze. I think it's $195 for silver, $395 really for gold, something like that per year. And then, yes, that's not paying for your firewall. And if you need to replace that, I get that. But the idea again then is keeping everybody on a level. I don't need, application control at a silver or gold level as an example. So I don't have my MSP trying to sell me that either.
Yes,
so I'm trying to keep that as a cost reduced. So I meet the requirements and I'm getting real benefits because there's a bunch of security professionals in the industry that have come together to actually design what those controls are. So they've taken the controls that are really, really important and significant and make an impact to a small business. So, those 6 things, those 14 things, those 20-something things are very, very specific that help a lot. And they aligned with like an ISO 27000 standard as well.
Yeah.
So when I do grow and I go, actually, I'm going to go with my ISO 27001 stat, I've got a bunch of controls already ticked off because they inline already. So everything feeds in, it's all aligned. It's not random stuff. And quite often what happens is even if an SMB does have some cybersecurity, it feels pretty random. There's no coherence to, okay, have you thought about account protection, client data protection, processes, training? There's very specific things. And this has been designed to tick all of those things without you having to think about it. It's go in, run through the steps, and that I don't have to do the thinking. The intelligence has already been put behind, and I just have to follow through to get benefits out of it.
I mean, for SMBs, there's really no excuse now, is there, to not have some level of certification?
I think it's a great move. We saw it happen in the UK. That happened. And then what actually happened in the UK is they actually moved that certification to then a requirement if that small, medium business was providing to the government.
Oh, okay.
So it became a supply chain thing. So I think what you'll see happen in this country is because cybersecurity is becoming that bane of existence type situation and it's like trying to stamp it out, is if we get that more awareness and more people come on, the badges start going on the websites, clients are going to start looking, okay. And what's also going to happen is you're going to start to look at your supply chain, which is going to be interesting. So you as a small, medium business are going to look at your suppliers and go, you should really be doing this SMB 1001. So I know that you've done the right thing, because if you can't supply, your widgets to me once a month, I can't supply to my customer, it becomes a problem. So there's a potential revenue issue straight up, which I said was number one problem directors are thinking about. Yeah. It's like, if I can't supply my product, I have a problem. And that's because you got ransomware. So it's not even my problem, but now it becomes my problem.
Yes, well,
that's where that supply chain becomes super important. And that is what I think is going to start to happen. People are going to go back down the chain going, hey, can we look at certification? And I think most companies will then start getting on board and getting the basics, because that's what SMB 1001 is. It's the basics of your cybersecurity.
And then just build on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you mentioned that it's an annual, like if you just do the bronze, $95 a year, do you have to go back and do the 6 steps again, or does that you pay your annual fee and roll over?
Yeah, you do. But bear in mind how quick they'll be the second year around, right? It's like, are you talking to your managed service provider? Yes. Yeah. Do you have a firewall? Yep. I put that in last year. Do you have endpoint security on your machine? Yep. We've put that in. So it's literally going to be a tick, 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 tick. Unless, of course, the standard changes, which it could do. Maybe they'll add in a 7th or an 8th thing. So as cybersecurity moves, that maturity level moves. So maybe there will be 1 or 2 extra things. But bear in mind, it's still under the bronze. So it's going to be relatively simple, whatever it is.
Yeah.
A good example would be, for instance, putting MFA, multi-factor authentication, on all accounts that need to log in. That's become almost a staple now.
Yes, talk about that a lot.
So something could come in like that going, oh, this must happen now.
Yeah.
And then where, like maybe in gold, and I'm talking about a random standard, I don't know if this particular control's in there, so it's just an example. Let's say it said everything's got to have MFA, right? Mm-hmm. But then it doesn't specify what type of MFA. And certain MFAs are stronger than others, right? So getting a text on your mobile phone is weak compared to using a security key, as an example. So they might enhance that standard in a year's time to say you now need to use security keys.
So it's a good check-in anyway, isn't it?
It is absolutely a good check-in, yeah. At least annually.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, so, exactly. To go back in and say, am I covering myself enough at the basic level?
Correct. Yeah.
And so people do want to go ahead and check out the certification. We can drop the details into the show notes anyway.
Yeah, we'll put the links in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Or, I mean, obviously you're well and truly behind this initiative. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'd love businesses to be able to do something like an ISO 27001, but it's complicated.
Yes.
You know, Mercury as a company, we're busy going through our ISO 27001 certification now. So I could tell you how complex it is, how much time it takes. So it's a lot of meetings and lots of things to do to get that in place, lots of evidence, audits, and so forth. And most SMBs are not going to be able to do that. So I absolutely welcome something like this coming in, because previous to this, there's lots of different standards out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, which standard do I pick? And people are going, well, there's Essential 8, there's NIST, Cybersecurity framework. There's a couple of things that they can look at do. And a lot of MSPs try and do a mix of some of them. Mm-hmm. We've even done that. We'll do a mix of that and go, okay, well, for this business, these things make sense. And that's that kind of expertise that you're paying for. But at the end of the day, there's no kind of standard, right, that you're working towards. And for an SMB, maybe the whole Essential 8, even at maturity level 1, is a step too far, because you would have to have application control, as an example.
And I think that's where people do get turned off then, don't they? So they're like, oh, no, it's all too hard. I'm not going to do anything. So
invariably what will happen is a business owner will talk to another business owner around a barbecue on the weekend, and someone got done, the ransomware or whatever it was, and then that story filters around, and then Monday morning it's like, we need to sort out our cybersecurity. You start having talks about it, and it kind of just goes into the too hard basket at the end of the day. So if we just had this simple going, hey, you know what? Just start here. So it might not be everything you need to start with, but if you start, it's that momentum starts going. You get your executives on board understanding, okay, this is something we need to look at, and it's part of our remit, which it is, but it's trying to get that understanding there. And then as well as managers. So you got to get that buy-in of that entire company moving forward around cybersecurity. And it's not like it's going to take, all the time in the world. It's kind of just starting, get the basics in and start moving along with it.
Well, it's like anything, isn't it? You just got to take those first couple of steps.
Yep.
And then you're on your way.
Well, I think that positivity of that one positive step, getting the badge and going, hey, we've done it, cool. Then, maybe in 6 months or a year, you go, you know what, let's look at silver. What does silver have? And it's a case of like, do we need silver or, do we need gold? And again, speaking to your MSP, they'll have an understanding. And it's mostly around what data you have, what data you're holding, what's the risk.
Yes.
Exactly. And then they can advise as well.
And once people, like say, start seeing those certifications popping up on websites and that sort of thing, consumers will start to be looking out for that. And
Agreed. And I have spoken to the guys at CyberCert and so forth. It is going international. It's already Singapore. It's launching in the US. So it's not, although it's Australian grown, it's now going global quickly. And it's getting a lot of interest from the government as well. So Department of Home Affairs are looking at it going, okay. So there was even a system, we spoke about it last week, where the government's providing training through cyber wardens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if you go and do the training on cyber wardens, they were giving you a bronze certification for free.
Wow.
So that was just a freebie, like one of the, and I think we'll see a lot more deals like that coming through, that the government's trying to encourage businesses. So for me, it's a case of like, geez, just go do some free training, right?
Absolutely.
Get given a bronze certification, so you save yourself $95. And I think it was also, if you then go and take that certification on, it got upgraded to a silver for free. So it's $200 worth plus the training, and it was great.
Well, it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Exactly. So I'd be looking at things like that from the government. I'd be like, the government's definitely behind it, and I think there'll be more and more of a push.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, for a lot of businesses, it's a case of, well, I would just be getting ahead of the curve and doing it, because I know it's not that complicated. Just jump on, because that's where it's headed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming along today and explaining all about what it means and how easy it is to obviously implement it into your business. We appreciate that. And if people want to reach out to you, LinkedIn's
going to be best,
Yes. And we will drop those extra information in the show notes so people can go and have a look for themselves.
Absolutely.
So no, it's great. Thanks for coming along.
Awesome. No problem. Thank you.
See you again soon.
Will do.